Hello, hello. This is just a quick test to see if I am audible. People can hear me. Welcome to the lesson. This is a lesson for English language students at sort of elementary level. It's useful or good for students perhaps who live in the UK, but also for students who live in their own country. Now, today's lesson will be focusing on how to ask classroom questions. Often, as a student, you need to ask questions to your teacher about English. So today, we're going to look at different questions you can ask your teacher, how to say them, and how to say them correctly. Now, obviously questions begin with words like who, what, how, why. Now, sometimes in class, as a student, you don't know the word for something. So you might have an object like this, you can see in the picture, and you want to ask about it. What is the question you ask? Okay. You can see we have a sentence. What? This English. Do you know what to say here? You hold the object and you say, listen, what's this in English? What's this in English? What's this in English? What's this in English? So you can do that for any object. You can hold up any object and say, teacher, what's this in English? Teacher, what's this in English? So that is a really useful and good question to ask. Now, the second question, maybe you don't know the letters in the word. You want to write the word, but you don't know the letters. What question do you ask your teacher? Because this word you want is the word corkscrew. The object is called a corkscrew, but you don't know the letters. What question do you ask? Do you know? The question is, how do you spell that? How do you spell that? Listen again, listen and repeat. How do you spell that? How do you spell that? Let's go back to the previous one. Do you remember this? It's what's this in English? What's this in English? And this one, how do you spell that? How do you spell that? Now, the next question, maybe you don't know how to move your mouth to say this word, or you don't know where the strong part is, the stress or the strong part of the word. Is it corkscrew? Corkscrew? Is it corkscrew? What question can we ask the teacher? We can ask, how do you pronounce that? Listen, how do you pronounce that? One more time. How do you pronounce that? Listen and repeat. How do you pronounce that? Good. Let's go back. Do you remember this one? How do you spell that? How do you spell that? And this one? What's this in English? What's this in English? Sometimes your teacher says something. Maybe you don't understand it. You didn't hear it. You want to hear it again. What question do you ask your teacher? What question do you ask your teacher? Listen. Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? Listen, repeat. Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? Okay, let's check these. Do you remember? How do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce that? This one? How do you spell that? How do you spell that? What's this in English? What's this in English? All right. Sometimes your teacher speaks very fast. What question can you ask your teacher to help you understand? You want him to speak slow. Think. Could you say that slower, please? Could you say that slower, please? Listen, repeat. Could you say that slower, please? Could you say that slower, please? What about this one? Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? This one? How do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce that? This one? How do you spell that? How do you spell that? This one? What's this in English? What's this in English? Okay, so we have 5 questions. Look at these. Can you remember every question? I'll give you just 30 seconds to look and try to remember. Okay, let's remember. Number 1, what's this in English? Number 2, how do you pronounce that? Oh, sorry, no. Number 2, how do you spell that? Number 3, how do you pronounce that? Number 4, could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? And number 5, could you say that slower, please? Could you say that slower, please? Okay, you can now see all of those questions and the correct way to write them. Again, let's practice them again. Listen and repeat. What's this in English? What's this in English? How do you spell that? How do you spell that? Number 3. How do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce that? Number 4. Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? And number 5. Could you say it slower, please? Could you say it slower, please? Okay. So we can ask those questions, for example, about this object. You know, what's this in English? This is a spatula. How do you spell that? How do you pronounce that? Could you repeat that, please? Could you say it slower, please? You could ask it about this object. Again, try and remember the question. Number 1. What's this in English? What's this in English? Number 2. How do you spell that? How do you spell that? Number 3. How do you pronounce that? Number 4. Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? And number 5. Could you say it slower, please? That object is called a thermos flask. A thermos flask. Let's try it with another object. Number 1. What's this in English? What's this in English? This is a clothes peg. A clothes peg. How do you spell that? How do you spell that? How do you pronounce that? How do you pronounce that? Number 4. Could you repeat that, please? Could you repeat that, please? And number 5. Could you say it slower, please? Could you say it slower, please? These are really good questions to ask and use in class with your teacher, but they are also good questions to ask outside the classroom. If you meet someone in the street, or if you meet a speaker of English, you can use these questions to help that person tell you what a word is, or you could ask that person to repeat it to help you remember it. If you want to practice some of these activities and practice some of this language, there is a QR code and a link there to an activity. Let me just, I can try and copy that link for you. It will be in the description as well. But I've put it in the chat so you can see that. You can click on that link and that will take you to activities. Let me just show you. Okay, you can see the activities there. Okay, and these are activities that you can do. You can fill the gaps. There's some fill the gaps activities. There are some put them in the correct order. Okay, so nice activities to practice these phrases. Okay. If you are a teacher, I have some ideas to practice these questions in class. One option, if you are a teacher, you can bring in a big sort of bag or group of objects from home, unusual objects that the students don't know the word for. You can give different groups different objects. They have to find out information about it. They have to find out the word, the spelling, the pronunciation. They then have to talk to other groups and ask them questions about their object to collect information about all of them. For teachers, there is also a link to the slides in the description as well if you want to download them and use them in your class. Okay, so today we learned to ask classroom questions. Questions like, what's this in English? How do you spell that? How do you pronounce that? Could you repeat that, please? Could you say it slower, please? These are great questions for the classroom, but also great questions if you are in the street as well and you want someone to explain or tell you what a word is. All right, thank you so much. This is the How to in English YouTube channel. We'll be having lessons every week on different topics, and I look forward to seeing you here again soon. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.